and welcome to the SCI Guys, the show where we talk about the crazy, weird, and wonderful stories from the science world. I'm Corey, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Luke Cutforth,
Hello.
and special guests, Matt and Dave from Do Go On.
Hey!
That was quite
How's
the
it
intro.
going?
Thank you so much.
Bloody hell.
Wow.
Apologies if we're a bit slow. Obviously, there's satellite delay and all that sort of stuff. I don't know if is that true? I guess you're the people to ask. You are SCI Guys after all.
It's interesting you say that, Matt, because I've been podcasting with you in the same room for 7 years, and that's your excuse every week.
Dear me. Well, this week we're talking about legally suspicious discoveries from
Hey, Dave,
Larry.
that's rude.
Legally suspicious discoveries from Larry Science Doers. But first, we have a YouTube comment of the week. This one says, 40 minutes in and you sound completely insane, but it also makes sense in a creepy but comforting way.
I feel like that was a comment directed at me.
Yeah, it probably was, Luke. It probably was. And to be honest, we're about 2 minutes in and we already sound completely insane. Okay, fantastic. And a question for everyone listening and watching. If you're listening, get down to the YouTube comments and answer this question. Are you a good liar? And have you listened to Do Go On? Both those could be connected if you haven't listened. Just say yeah.
Yes and yes.
Say yes. Yeah, say yes. But what is
lie.
But what is Do Go On, and why are you guys here?
Well, Matt, I think I could say that Do Go On is a comedy history sort of podcast that Matt and I have been hosting with Jess Perkins for, like I said, 7 years now. We're taking turns to report on a topic, often suggested to us by one of the listeners, and we talk about things as wide and varying as the Chernobyl accident all the way through to the life of Dolly Parton. There's something for everyone, I think.
Do you think of those as the two polar opposites, Dave?
Yeah, that's right. If
Yeah.
Dolly had
I guess
been there,
one's
she
a
would have saved the
disaster,
day.
True.
Very true. Very, very, very true. And you guys are going on tour, aren't you?
Yeah, we're coming to you. We're coming to you, Corey. Assuming that your accent is where you are. Are you in?
It's
What
not.
is your accent? It's Scottish, general Scottish, isn't it?
It is Scottish, yeah.
General.
I'm just trying to think. It's not Billy Connolly, which is Glasgow, or is it? I've never heard you say "wee jobby."
It is. Jesus Christ.
I've actually heard Corey say wee jobby.
I've said wee jobby before.
Okay.
I'm partial to a wee
And now you
jobby.
have heard him say wee jobby.
Yeah, no, actually, I think you might be from Glasgow.
I am not from Glasgow. Maybe we'll find out where I am from later on in the show. But this week,
Well, that's what a sizzle.
Wow, what a tease.
We are going to go to Glasgow. I should say we're coming over to be more specific for a tour of some live podcasts and stand-up. And we're heading all over the UK, including the home of the wee jobby, Glasgow.
gosh darn right, and also London, where I'll be there. I have extra tickets for London as well. Do you want to
Can I
come,
come?
Luke?
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
Please come.
Oh, great. See you there.
And you know, like topics, I think of Glasgow as being the Dolly Parton, London being Chernobyl, and we're stopping off in different places or topics along the way. Maybe Leeds is like Bigfoot. Bristol is the. I'm struggling to think of any other episodes we've done, Dave. Monopoly board game.
Yes.
Manchester, of course, is.
Vincent van Gogh.
Vincent van Gogh. That's right.
Well, I think we've done a very classic Do Go On thing. So if you like this show, by the way, if you like SCI Guys, you very much will enjoy Do Go On. I was saying before, I basically nicked the format. It is just giving a report, but I very much did lift it from Do Go On. So if you enjoy SCI Guys, go ahead and check it out. We've done a classic Do Go On, very long intro, so why don't we get into the topic for this week?
That's very much us.
So we are talking about MKUltra this week. I don't know if that was obvious from what I said earlier. Legally suspicious discoveries from Larry Science Doers. Do you know what the connection there might be?
LSD.
LSD,
Yeah,
yeah. So we're doing MKUltra.
We're doing LSD today.
We're not doing LSD today.
Corey.
Well, we can do LSD. I've not managed to ship it to Australia quite yet. It'll arrive with you guys maybe in a few weeks, you know?
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, so we're talking about MKUltra. We're talking about the
Yeah.
LSD experiment specifically when it comes to MKUltra, because it wasn't just one project. It was a very big one. There was over 162 different secret projects included in it. You guys have done this as a topic before, haven't you?
Yes.
Yeah, we did as a bonus episode, though, so only very special people have heard it. Patreon supporters of ours. But yeah, I did that report, and I have nearly no memory of it.
Oh, fantastic. Great.
I think, did Muse write a song about it?
What? No,
Is that a Muse involved at all?
Matt-
Does Muse have a song called MKUltra?
Maybe. I thought you said didn't Hughes write a song about it, and I was like, you know what?
Yeah.
I really wish we had, but we have not.
I think of you as are you not in Muse, Corey?
You know, I try to keep that down low on the podcast. I want people listening to it for Muse. You know, this is my own thing. Yeah.
You are right though. Muse did do a song called MKUltra.
Oh, brilliant! There we go.
Okay.
Cool. That's your one fact. That's it. You don't need to contribute any more at all. You're safe. You're good.
There's also a football team called MK Dons, but I don't think they're related.
To the MKUltra scandal. No, I don't think they are.
So MKUltra, it was a top secret CIA project, right? It covered over 150 different sort of individual experiments. It was using LSD and other drugs for mind control and essentially to figure out how to get information from people, like psychological torture, basically. I said that in a very jovial way.
Yeah, like psychological torture.
Psychological torture.
We've all been there.
Well, if we've listened to SCI Guys, yes, we definitely all have been there. Yeah, so it lasted from 1953 till about 1973, and it didn't really become public sort of knowledge until 1975, wherein there was sort of an investigation because they did a lot of naughty things. The word naughty is doing a lot of heavy lifting here. And towards the end of it, they concluded that mind control was not possible, at least with the sort of methods that they were trying to use. So let's first go to the beginning of MKUltra. Why do you think they decided to do mind control?
I imagine to try and like create like a truth serum type thing, like information extraction.
Yeah, so that was their end goal, but what was it that sort of spurred them on to do it? This was during the Cold War.
Oh, well then the Cold War.
Yeah, it was the Cold War. It was this basic...
That's a pretty big clue, Corey. I reckon you could have probably...
I mean, it just feels like
a slightly subtler clue there. But...
It just feels like one of those things. Like why? It's like well, why anything? Why are governments doing anything? Why are they making missiles? Why are they like training soldiers? Like this is what countries do. They're in constant warfare with each other. They're constantly trying to one up each other, or at least those branches of government are. So like. The why, I don't even know if they know why. They just are doing it because they're scared everyone else is going to do it.
I can guarantee you that basically everything the American government did during the Cold War was because of the Soviets. That's just your blanket answer.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Even going to the moon, yeah.
It was
everything.
Literally going to the moon, yeah. So,
yeah.
So they thought that the Soviets, the Chinese, the North Koreans, all of the ones that America didn't like at the time, and I guess still now, were essentially trying to use mind control to control prisoners of war in Korea. So they thought, well, why don't we do that too? We got to get ahead of them. It's the Cold War. This is what we do. And so Alan Dulles, or Dulles, I don't know how to pronounce his name. Guys, this is something I do. I don't look up how to pronounce people's names, and then I get myself in a bit of a pickle when I've actually got to read it out on the podcast. Alan.
Alan.
Right.
Yeah. Alan, do you know what? If you guys are going to make references to Do Go On, I know for a fact that right now I'm the only one that's going to get them.
I've listened to Do Go On.
Have you listened to Do Go On?
Yeah.
Oh, you took. Oh, very good, very good. You took my recommendations.
Yeah.
Good, fantastic.
And my wife as well. It's one of my wife's favorite podcasts.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Oh, fantastic. Shout out to your wife.
Shout out to I always try to get a shout out to my wife in. Also because I'm just happy to have a wife.
Yes. I know Rebecca doesn't listen to this though, because the number of things we've said on this podcast directly to her, she's never once responded.
Yeah, I know. Right? I don't think she's ever listened to the podcast.
Do you think of yourself as a wife guy?
No, God. Literally, as soon as I said I'd like giving shout outs to my wife, I went, oh, God, but I don't want to be a wife guy. Jeez.
Never ends up well for wife guys.
I want to point out that I'm so dedicated to this podcast. I'm also I have a wife, but I've taken my ring off for this
yeah?
podcast.
Oh, right.
I pledge myself to you for the next hour.
I'll take my ring off as well. Oh God, it won't come off.
We thought the show was called Single Guys, but so Dave, you can probably put it back on. We weren't sure what was going to happen here, but
Oh, this is a dating show. At the end, we've got a little dating segment. We go through the science first, and then it gets to the dating. But as I say, back to the science of this. Alan, he was the director of the CIA at the time, approved Project MKUltra in 1953, but it wasn't run by him. It was run by a man named Sidney Gottlieb, who was... he was well remembered. I read through his obituary, and it was very, very nice considering what the man did. So let's just quickly run through Sidney Gottlieb. So Sidney Gottlieb, he was a chemist and intelligence officer. He was born in 1918 and died in 1999. As I said, he was born, as most people are, but he was born in New York City to Orthodox Jews, and we'll kind of just skip through most of his life and get to after MKUltra, because I find this really interesting. MKUltra was kind of a really horrible part of his life. Not for him personally, he did horrible things to other people, but after he left the CIA, he ran a leper colony in India for 18 months with his wife. Yeah.
Hang on, a leper colony in
he's a wife guy as well.
He's a wife guy.
and a leper guy. A leper colony like good, or a leper colony like bad?
Do you know, I didn't look too far into it. I mean, let's just assume good. Let's just assume good.
Why are we assuming good from the guy who ran MKUltra?
Because in his
Can you
obituary,
explain a bad leper colony?
Like
giving people leprosy.
like a place where, like, if someone has leprosy, you like just pop them on an island and just like that's it. You just leave them there.
That is more or less a leper colony, isn't it?
Well, yeah, exactly. Like because you could treat the leprosy. You don't have to stick them on an island.
Okay, from what I know, leprosy was so contagious
Right.
and not well understood
Yeah.
that the best thing they could think of was to chuck people on an island. A lot like what we did with Australia.
Yeah.
The best thing we could think to do with our criminals was to
Crime
chuck them
is
on an island.
so not good. We'll stick
Oh
them
my
on an
God.
island.
Jesus.
Oh God.
Oh no!
Corey,
Jeez.
present company.
Well, I never.
Oh good lord! Oh dear!
But it is nice that the UK doesn't have crime anymore.
Yeah,
We
we
do.
look forward to rejoining Utopia next month. That'd be fantastic.
We do have
Can't
crime.
wait.
It's just we just call them the Prime Minister now.
Yeah. We kept them all in government, exactly. Although the crime rates will just skyrocket. They'll shoot right up in November when Matt and Dave are here for their tour. A little plug. There you go.
A little plug.
Yeah, is being funny a crime? Well, lock us up.
So he ran a leper colony with his wife. He took a degree in speech therapy to get over his stutter. Then he bought a log cabin in the Virginia mountains, and he wanted to start a commune where he could. And I'm literally reading this directly from the obituary from The Guardian, where he could enjoy his two hobbies: folk dancing and breeding goats. I don't even know
And
what to say to
slipping
that.
LSD to unsuspecting people.
Maybe the goats. Who knows?
Is there any crossover between the breeding of goats and the dancing, or are they completely separate activities?
You know, there is no comma between the two, so I assume they are combined activities. I can only assume. Then he worked in a hospice looking after dying people. That's literally what it says in the obituary. So there was a lot of good things he did towards the end of his life. Let's get into the not so good things. So, during MKUltra, I mean, it was essentially a continuation of work that started in concentration camps, and they actually brought people that worked in concentration camps into the MKUltra project to help them, basically. And when I say concentration camps, yes, those concentration camps. Yeah. They brought in Nazi scientists.
Feels like you could have predicted that you were doing something that wasn't great when you brought in Nazi scientists.
Yeah, I feel like as soon as you add them in, that's probably the point where you ask, are we doing the bad thing?
Foreshadowing.
Jesus Christ.
Corey, I think the way you say Nazi makes it a bit more cutesy than it should be. Nazis. The Nazis. Ooh, the Nazis.
Ooh, naughty Nazis.
I'm sorry. Hold on. Shall I try that again? How should I say it to better
Nazi.
communicate?
Nazi. With anger.
I don't think I can do it. Nazi.
No.
No.
You're making it worse.
Okay. Right.
Just talk about science.
Again, so I'll say I use the word scientist very loosely here. They were basically people that tortured people just to see what would happen.
But they wrote it down.
Yeah. Yeah, they wrote a lot of it down. And so these scientists came in, and these were people that did vivisections, so literally cutting open living people, and they were like, yeah, let's use these guys to help build our experiments on more people. So at least 25 of the experiments that they ran were on people that didn't know that they were part of an experiment. And some of them didn't even know when the drugs started kicking in and they started getting super high on psychedelics. Yeah. This was not a very good sort of set of experiments. They were pretty bad. So bad, in fact, that these are the exact same sort of things that Nazis were, I guess, tried for during the Nuremberg trials. Wow, why can't I say anything
Which was
bad?
run by whom?
Run by whom?
The West, potentially.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Maybe we could have foreseen this.
Yeah, basically what the US did, or what the CIA did here, was take all the bad guys and said, hey, come work for us to do some secret work that is also bad. And they just got away with it because it's the CIA. Anyway, let's get into the actual experiments, right?
Please.
So as I said up top, the program had more than 150 human experiments, and they used MDMA, barbiturates, mescaline, heroin, methamphetamine, psilocybin, hypnosis, electroshock therapy. They did a whole bunch of stuff. So much so that we're only going to be talking about LSD today because that's really all we're going to have time for. And as I said, sometimes people knew they were participating in a study, other times they didn't, even when they started to, start to trip, essentially. And a lot of the tests were done at universities, hospitals, or prisons, but there were also detention centers throughout Europe and East Asia, and particularly sort of Japan, Germany, the Philippines, which America controlled during the sort of early 50s. And basically the reason they started doing stuff there is because they didn't need to worry about laws in those places, because they could just do what they wanted.
Just like Guantanamo.
Yeah, just like Guantanamo, exactly. Yeah. Oh my gosh. This reminds me a lot of the episode we did on
the Tuskegee syphilis experiment.
Thank you. This will get more fun in a second, by the way, guys.
MKUltra is about to get a bit more fun, I think.
Yeah, they're not started taking the drugs yet.
The LSD kicks in our water over here, Matt, and we'll be feeling like
It's a fine line between torture and having a real fun time, isn't it? It's just like knowing that you're involved in it, probably, is the main thing.
I mean, generally, yeah. Because, I mean, you know what? They didn't just do this on people that didn't know what was going on. Initially, the experiment started as self-experimentation. So CIA officers were experimenting with LSD on themselves, which to me just sounds like they were getting high and being paid for it.
Please tell me you've got the descriptions from when they tested them on soldiers, and the soldiers knew, and then they wrote down like that the soldiers became really rubbish soldiers. Have you got this stuff?
I don't have all of that
it's
stuff.
Brilliant. There's all this stuff where they're just like, we gave it to a bunch of soldiers, and they just kept on like giggling and like being absolutely useless soldiers, and so we stopped giving them LSD.
I had read that. Yeah. That was it, because they gave it to soldiers essentially to make them more compliant. You know, if you want a soldier, you want someone that follows orders really well. So we're like, oh yeah, let's just give them this and try and make them follow orders.
And they just kept giggling.
Exactly. So, as I said, this took place between sort of 1953 and 1964, most of the experiments, but we don't actually have a lot of information on them because they destroyed the records in 1973 because they didn't want to get in trouble for it. And in the early... Right?
Do it.
I mean, yeah, look, I feel like at every point along the way, they must have known they were doing something bad. There was no way you could not think, I'm the bad guy in this, right?
Yeah, it's hard. They must have been. You'd have to be pretty high to not think you're doing bad things by making other people take.
Funnily enough,
I mean, actually saying that, in the early 1950s, Sidney Gottlieb almost single-handedly arranged to buy the entirety of the world's supply of LSD for the CIA. So he spent $240,000, I believe, of 1950s money. So that's a lot of money.
How much LSD? I mean, like LSD, you don't need a lot of LSD.
Right, but bear in mind, back in the 50s, LSD would have been fairly scarce, right? Because it was only first synthesized in 1943. Now, where they sell it
on every street corner.
I mean, if you know where to look.
Oh yeah, hang on, I didn't even think about that. Yeah,
right. Yeah.
So you know where to look. Australia. That's where it was from.
Yeah, our streets are paved with LSD down here. Don't want to fall over.
No.
Not again.
Sorry, boss, I can't come in today. Had another fall.
It happened again.
And I had another trip. It was right there. So he brought the entire world supply of LSD to the United States and started giving it to hospitals, clinics, prisons, essentially just asking them to give it to people and just note down what happened. They were very careful to make sure that they weren't being obvious that it was the CIA giving this out. So, the CIA was basically doing what the CIA does, buying up a bunch of drugs and then secretly distributing it.
And then going on to call Timothy Leary the most dangerous man in America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to explain that one?
So Timothy Leary was a guy who he kind of ran a bunch of sort of cults type things. Do you guys know about Timothy Leary?
No.
So he basically was the guy. I think he's the guy who coined the phrase "tune in, tune on, tune in, drop out." And he was sort of this like created a wave of dropouts in America. You can see on like if you look at a graph of like the number of dropouts, like college dropouts, it is correlated with him existing. And he encouraged LSD use. He kind of ran sort of like cults or kind of like religion sort of things. It was to do with like creating the kind of the hippie movement. And he was quite responsible for a lot of people taking quite a bit of LSD. And he was called by someone in the American government, possibly even Nixon, the most dangerous man in America, because they believed he threatened sort of the American what would you call it?
Establishment?
Yes, possibly, yeah. Well, but just like kind of like having a work ethic, like general capitalist goals, because people were just sort of dancing and like getting high and listening to music and stuff, and they weren't working.
How terrible.
They should be working.
So as I said, they distributed it to a bunch of different organizations, but also they were slipping it into their own drinks when they were sort of testing on the sort of themselves in the CIA. In fact, there was a CIA Office of Security report that apparently said it did not recommend testing in the Christmas punch bowls usually present at office parties. Yeah, they were spiking each other essentially, just for fun. And science. Ding-a-ling-ling, is that the ad bell?
He's ringing again. Why is he ringing this time, Corey?
He's ringing for After Dark, Luke.
Why have we gendered our ad bell, Corey?
Because he's a boy and I want to respect him just like I respect After Dark, our sister show to this podcast, SCI Guys. After Dark is what happens after SCI Guys ends. We just chat about whatever we want to chat about.
If you've ever been listening to SCI Guys and gone, God, I wish there were less facts, then you can listen to After Dark. I wish there were more opinions in this show.
More philosophy and politics.
Yes, After Dark is the show where Corey and I sit down, and maybe with a guest sometimes, sit down and discuss just more sort of floaty, woo-wooey ideas about things we think with our brains.
And where can they watch this wonderful, wonderful show, Luke?
Well, they can listen to it and watch it at patreon.com/SCI Guys, our Patreon, where you can also support us and help us keep doing this thing that you apparently like us doing.
Did you say patreon.com/SCI Guys?
Yes, I think I did. I think I did say patreon.com/SCI Guys.
Well, if you want to listen to After Dark, it seems like you should get to patreon.com/SCI Guys.
That's patreon.com/SCI Guys, in case you weren't paying attention.
Now pay attention, because we're about to start the show.
Oh, my attention has been paid and will continue to be paid until the end, when I go home.
So LSD is what we're talking about.
Sorry, it's a satellite again. Really delayed.
LSD is what we're talking about today, isn't it? Do you know what LSD stands for? Anyone?
Lucy. No, what is something sciencey? I really regret starting to talk there. I felt like I hadn't said anything for a while.
So what you were
I
going to
was
say?
so happy that
for a
you.
little while, and
So
I'm so happy you jumped in.
What I think Matt was going to say.
Something philophate or something. Diaphyllate.
Yeah.
You know, it'll be something sciencey like listenine, stilified, disnacylate.
Yeah.
Something like that.
So close. Well, is that what you
Sure,
were...
is that?
Sorry, do go on.
You got to give him a partial credit for that. I come on.
Oh, do you know what?
Lucinine, dacinine, nanolate.
Well, I was going to take the Lucy.
Yeah.
Say that's spot on. Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds.
Well, yeah, that's a really I was going to say that's really funny because like the Beatles wrote Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds and then they were just like, that's not about LSD. It's a magical story about Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. And ignore the fact that we've been doing loads of LSD recently.
Just a coincidence. Well, if you want to know more about LSD, you could check out Lucy on the Bike with Diamonds, which is episode number 7 of SCI Guys.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, we did that one early. But yeah, LSD stands for lysergic acid diethylamide. which is pretty close to
I
what
feel
you
like
said.
that's what I said.
Yeah, more or less, yeah. If
Yeah.
you say it fast, it sounds
Absolutely.
exactly the same. Just to give you a quick overview of LSD, it was accidentally synthesized by Albert Hofmann in 1943, I believe. He was trying to make sort of experimental substances to basically make circulatory and respiratory stimulants, uppers, essentially.
I'm glad you said that. He wasn't like accidentally. He wasn't trying to make a pot roast or something. Gone absolutely. Oh no!
I really messed this one up, man.
Nan's come round for the weekly Sunday lunch. Oh no!
Do you know what? The actual original story, he did mess up a lot in that when he first sort of made it, he thought, okay, well, I need to test this out. He tested it out on animals first. And then he was like, okay, well, I need to test this out on a
These
human.
animals look like they're having a great time.
But he did not know the dosage. You know this, Luke.
Yeah.
He did not know the dosage, so he took maybe like 10 to 100 times what...
Well, didn't the first time he like dropped it on his finger by accident, and then it went into his bloodstream
was
through his
it.
finger.
That was it.
And then he also then didn't know what doses to take, so he just took a stupendous dose. Yeah,
there's-
How did it get in through his finger? Did he have no skin on his finger or something?
just exposed
How did it go through his
veins.
skin? Holy shit.
Yeah, he blew the skin
That's
off his finger in a
powerful.
previous experiment. No, LSD is mad. So you sort of take it. You could take it in capsules, or in sort of tablet form if you're taking it, I guess, medically. If you're taking it less than legally, usually it will be on a strip of paper. And it can just absorb through your skin and get into your bloodstream that way.
Wow.
And it is incredibly potent. I mean, you need a tiny amount, per unit of body weight to get you
Well, how
really
big was
tripping.
Albert Hoffman's finger? He's absorbing 100 times a regular dose through one finger.
I mean,
It's incredible.
You could genuinely. So I've been looking into this. You could genuinely fit enough dosage for one person on a sort of piece of paper smaller than your little fingernail. Yeah.
And when you say looking into it, what do you mean?
Look, Dave, I'm not gonna lie. In preparation for this, I did a ton of acid. I'm still up right now, to be honest.
Fantastic.
As long
we
as you're wearing
appreciate
a
the
white
dedication.
coat and you're noting down the data, then you're all good. Or data, I think you say. Is that right?
I say data, yeah.
Nazis, data.
I actually say Nazis. No. That seems a pretty good time to talk about how LSD works. Does anyone know how LSD works? Anyone?
I have a rough idea.
Yeah?
So it binds to serotonin 2 receptors, I think. Some types of serotonin receptor. And yeah, just sort of messes with your perception of stuff. But yeah, it gets in your brain, binds to some kind of receptor in the place of serotonin, I believe. And then after that, I don't know. Read your notes, science boy.
Yeah, I mean, you're pretty spot on, Luke. Yeah, so it essentially activates serotonin receptors. Serotonin being a neurotransmitter in your brain that does a lot of stuff. Like what, Luke?
Makes you happy. Mm-hmm. Well, makes you not sad, more importantly.
Yeah.
And it also does stuff with your gut. Like there's controls stuff with your gut. It's used in the gut as well.
Yeah, a bunch of neurotransmitters are used in the gut for different things because your body likes to reuse chemicals. Reduce, reuse, recycle. Very, very green. But LSD, essentially, yeah, look, I really cannot fault you there. It gets into your head, it connects to certain stuff in your brain and makes you start seeing things. We're not actually fully sure of the mechanism of action, like exactly how it works in the way that it does.
Yeah, we don't even know how antidepressants work. We don't know anything.
We did an episode on that. Yeah, we don't know how antidepressants work pretty much at all. Or rather, we don't know why they work. We know how they work. We just don't know why.
No, we don't even know why they work.
No, that's what I'm saying. We don't know why they work.
We don't even know how they work.
We basically know how
Because
they
we
work.
thought it was because they boosted serotonin. But then if you reduce the serotonin in healthy people who don't have depression, they don't get depression. So that doesn't make any sense. We talked about that already. But
did,
I love to talk about it because it doesn't make any sense.
Look, brains don't make sense. I don't know if you know this, guys, but when it gets to science about brains, it seems that people are mostly just guessing.
Yeah, you talking about it is hurting mine. Oh.
And yeah, so, I mean, we could talk a little bit more about LSD and the effects of it. I mean, you know what happens when you take LSD, right? Anyone want to run us through it? The basic things that happen when one ingests LSD?
Everything goes all wibbly wobbly.
Yeah, trip some balls. if I'm using that science term correctly.
Yeah, spot on, actually.
I believe what it actually does is it increases the talk across channels in the brain that don't normally talk to each other. So like it sort of increases it's like crosstalk. So like your brain would normally go in a certain direction, signals would go around the brain in a certain order, and instead they'll go around in a totally different order. Areas of the brain that are normally completely separate or only talk via other areas of the brain will talk directly to each other. Everything's going crazy, all going tits up.
I mean, yeah, maybe. We don't actually know. We literally, I mean, I can read you right here. It says that the resulting impairment in cognition and induction of hallucinations are still poorly understood. So we don't really know. And I mean, this has been around for about, 70, 80 years now, almost. Yeah. And we still have no clue.
It's illegal, so we're not allowed to do anything about it.
Yeah, well, it's being used for some tests, but it is still very illegal if you're not a scientist.
But there was a period where, like, you just couldn't. Like they thought it was going to be this big psychology, incredible psychology drug, but they just weren't allowed to do anything with it.
I wonder why that was.
Go on, conspircy theory, man.
Oh, it's not a conspiracy theory. It's just the war on drugs, isn't it?
Oh yeah,
yeah. There's no conspiracy there.
Well, but it's what the point being is that it's classified as a class A in America, class 1 scheduled drug, which means a drug, like by definition, a drug with no medical application.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that before it was made illegal, it was being tested for medical applications, and now it's being tested for medical applications. Like, I don't know, it just feels like a really weird thing to do. Like,
wait, are you saying that sometimes governments make drugs illegal for no reason other than they don't?
Well, they're scared. They were really scared. They just went, no, everything other than paracetamol, no, stop it.
Basically, yeah. So, I mean, let's go through the sort of effects of LSD in more, I guess, depth. So the adverse effects are what I'm looking at here right now. And quite literally in this paper that I was reading that gives you information about LSD, it talks about good trips and bad trips. A good trip essentially being a good experience where you're happy, the things you're seeing are enjoyable, you don't get freaked out, and a bad trip being essentially the exact opposite of that. A bad trip encapsulates sort of anything that is sort of negative after taking LSD, but they can be incredibly traumatic.
Matt and Dave, did you have any, when you were in school, did you have, this is a thing we have in the UK, I'm interested to know if it happens over where you are, did you have like a person who comes into school to tell you like scary stories about drugs? And what stories did they tell you?
I remember we had a Christian biker who came in and told us that porn was bad and it ruined his life. And whenever he closed his eyes, he could just see porn.
And did he do it in front of you? Oh no! They're everywhere!
Hold on.
Touching me! Oh,
Hold on a second.
away! Put them away!
This man doesn't need to log on to a computer or pay anyone anything.
Oh man,
that sounds.
The teenage boys in that crowd are like, hook me up. That sounds awesome.
Yeah. It really did not have the effect I think they thought it was gonna.
Hey
People
guys,
were looking at him like he was a superhero.
Here's a trick for free
what a
porn for
power.
life. You know?
The other thing we have in Australia is in primary school, the thing called the Life Ed van often comes along. Did you have this, Matt, where they have Harold, who is a giraffe puppet who pops up and tells you that smoking's bad and this is, this is how your body works and that drugs are bad. But I don't know how horrific the stories Harold was telling was.
Yeah, I remember that being more like just about, showing your organs and stuff.
Yeah,
I don't
trying to
remember
stay
this.
healthy.
Yeah.
We had a guy come in and tell us that if you take LSD, you will believe you are an orange and you will peel off your own skin.
That stresses me out so much.
Did he hold up his left hand and all the skin's gone? Speaking from experience.
It was Albert Hoffman.
Ironically, for LSD, you don't need to take off the skin, do you?
Jesus, I remember someone coming in and telling us about how cannabis was this horrible thing that would kill you dead immediately as soon as you touched it.
Yeah. What was the lie?
And then it took me like 10 years to realize that cannabis and weed were the same thing. I did not realize for this. I was like, oh my God. How...
And you've been smoking it for 10 years. I'm like, I must be a superhero. I'm amazing. I've been eating poison for 10 years.
Please do not do drugs, children. Adults, go ahead and do what you want. I don't care. But children, no.
Cool.
So back to LSD. It says here that daily ingestion is almost impossible because it produces an absurd good trip or high, which means that it's really hard to chronically misuse LSD, apparently. It just makes you feel too good.
I don't understand. What?
What it's saying is that you can't it's really difficult to misuse it as like in the way that one can misuse alcohol or abuse alcohol because there are such little negative effects, especially if it's under sort of clinical, if you're sort of doing it clinically, because it's so likely you're having daily good trips. Misuse of it, as in using it to a degree where it's harmful to you, is unlikely. And you couple that with the fact that we don't know the top end sort of lethal dose of LSD. The only thing we've done that's close to that is we killed an elephant once. We on purpose killed an elephant once by giving it too much LSD, but we've yet to do that to people.
What?
Yeah.
Can you explain that a bit more?
Yeah.
That would have to be a lot, I'm assuming. Elephants, and I mean, I'm not a scientist, so I might be wrong, but I believe they're large.
Yeah. So basically, there's
one of the larger animals out there.
Yeah.
I've heard that too.
So in drug science, there's this idea called the LD50, which is like, this is the dose where, do you know what this is? So it's like, this is the dose where if you gave it to people, half the people you gave it to would die. Is that correct, Corey? The LD50 level?
Yeah.
So basically with LSD, we don't know what that is because it's such a hard drug to die from. That we just you just don't die. You can take as much as you like. It won't be good for you. You might have a very horrible time, but you won't die. And measurements of LSD doses are done in micrograms, which is that little U with the little tail. Which is like millionths of a gram, is it?
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. Anyway, so in 1962, basically, someone gave 297 milligrams, so like 1,000 times dosages. So that's 3,000 times the human recreational dose to an elephant. And within 5 minutes, he collapsed on the ground. And 1 hour, 40 minutes later, he died. And he was called Tusco. And he is sorely missed by everyone.
Yeah, we fully did that. Yeah. We've done lots of horrible animal experiments. I mean, not us personally.
You mean?
Oh.
Oh my god.
Oh gosh, oh no.
Underneath the page Tusco, the first subsection is called etymology, and the second subsection is notable elephants. I just really like that. Notable elephants of
Can
note.
you go through a few of the notable elephants?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, who are we talking about?
Could I? Okay, so we've got the meanest elephant, formerly known as
Stampy.
Ned. He was captured at age 6. He stood just 5 feet high when he was unloaded from a sailing ship. And let me just scroll through to find out why he was so mean.
Probably because he was captured at age 6.
That'll do it.
Yeah, and they put him on a boat. What kind of elephant goes on a boat?
That's a good
I
question.
get mean on a boat.
Yeah,
An elephant. Freaking hell.
So basically that was just because his tusks were long. So that feels a little bit mean. And then we've got elephant on LSD. And that is the only 2 notable elephants.
Not worth the list, I
Really?
think.
Yep.
I thought Jumbo would be on there for sure. The big one from this thing.
I think
That's where the name Jumbo comes from as well, I believe.
Sorry,
like Jumbo Jet.
Jumbo Jet.
Do you mean
And named after the elephant, Jumbo.
what, isn't the elephant called Dumbo?
the elephant was
Dumbo's a play on the real elephant Jumbo.
wow.
Dumbo's a cartoon. Luke, I don't know. I thought you were a scientist. Are you thinking cartoons are real?
Matt, I hate to break it to you, but science says that cartoons are in fact real. Yeah.
Well, I feel foolish. I don't know why I'm questioning scientists.
Yeah, no, actually, fun fact about Dumbo. He was initially called, I think, Jumbo. And then they called him Dumbo because I think his ears were so big and he looked dumb.
Right.
Something along those lines.
Great.
Okay, let's move on. We've spoken a little bit about the sort of negative effects, about bad trips, but let's just quickly run through the mental effects of LSD. So you've got delusions, visual hallucination, distorted senses of time and identity, an impaired depth and time perception. Basically, it drives you nuts. It was genuinely initially used as a model for psychosis in animals. That's what Albert Hoffman started doing with it because it would just send animals kind of nuts.
Yeah.
Which
There's
makes
some really
sense.
sad videos of cats on LSD where they don't look like they're having a good time.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, really lightened the mood.
Good morning.
And that Albert was into that, so he just kept doing that over and over again.
Yeah.
That was just his thing.
Man,
Wow.
he got off on that stuff. I don't think it's.
Strange guy.
I don't think I can libel him. He's dead. It's fine.
So as I said, they brought LSD to America for the CIA, and they started giving it out to people. And they gave it to some people that we might know. Does anyone know any famous people that were given LSD by the CIA?
Well, according to my YouTube algorithm recommendations, Beyonce. But
Okay, anyone can answer this question that isn't getting their information from conspiracy videos on YouTube.
oh, sorry, I'll sit this one out.
I don't know, like Marilyn Monroe or something. Maybe Elvis. I'm just going to keep having stabs until you give me a nod.
You've also seen that conspiracy video. Great, cool.
Well, I've got, do you know Ken Kesey or Ken Kesey? The person that wrote...
You said famous people. And right on the top of that list for me is Ken Kesey, very famous man.
Have you heard of, Matt, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest?
Okay, yep. I should have probably just waited a little longer there.
So the author of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest was given LSD in a CIA-sponsored experiment. Allen Ginsberg. Anyone know Allen Ginsberg?
I know the name.
Yeah?
Yes.
Ballad of the Skeletons? Was that him? Poet guy, right?
There we go. I
Must be
actually know
poetry.
nothing. I know nothing about this man, so I'm gonna.
He had a song in the Triple J Hottest 100 in the 90s, and it was called The Ballad of the Skeletons, if I'm thinking of the right guy.
That's a big annual music countdown we do in Australia.
You know what? I don't know enough about any of those things to dispute you, so I'm just gonna agree with you and say, yeah.
Hell
Got
yeah.
him. You sound like a fool, Corey. I made it all up.
Well, Robert Hunter. Do you know Robert Hunter? Do you know the Grateful Dead? No.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So he also took LSD. Essentially.
Sorry, he just took LSD, or
I
he
think
was given
actually-
it by the CIA?
No, I genuinely think.
He took LSD. Hey, Steve Jobs, he took LSD. Hey, the Beatles, they took LSD.
No, genuinely, by extension, pretty much everyone got LSD from the CIA because they started distributing it to like the army and hospitals and stuff, and they couldn't keep it contained.
Brilliant.
And when they were giving it to scientists to work on it, the scientists started taking it themselves, and they started giving it to their friends, and it just it got a little bit too out of hand. And you were saying at the start of this, Luke, that the sort of hippie movement was sort of, I guess, antithetical to the US establishment at the time. They fully accidentally started the hippie movement.
Yeah.
These famous people that I've mentioned, the One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest guy, the Allen Ginsberg guy, the Grateful Dead guy, they all kind of together, I guess, sort of pushed for that sort of more hippie movement, essentially just from taking a bunch of LSD. They would do these sort of LSD parties where they'd play fun music and whatnot and just take a ton of LSD. I really don't know where they were getting it from, though. Because again, it was only available through the CIA. And I mean, there's a few other people that you may know. Have you heard of Ted Kaczynski?
Is he the dude who jumped out the window?
No, he's not the dude who jumped out the window.
The Unabomber.
Yeah, he is the...
That's right.
I sound far too excited for that.
Did a do go on about him as well. That's why, that's why we did an episode on MKUltra, because of that connection. It's all coming back to me now. Are you going to tell the only thing that I'm now remembering is that one experiment they did, or a series of them, they'd have a hotel room with a one-way mirror.
Yeah.
And they just get people the suited up CIA agents to just sit there and watch people losing their minds.
Matt, are you reading my
And
notes?
then I think they started taking the drugs on the other side. Oh, well, I'll let you tell.
No,
us.
no,
I'd just quickly correct. A one-way mirror is just a mirror. You're talking about a two-way mirror. You said a one-way mirror. That is just that's just a mirrar.
That's how high these people were. They're like, oh my God, what's happening over there? Look at this
Can we
weirdo.
get a one-way mirror in this room, please? A two-way mirror is
No, two-way mirror is a window.
no.
Yeah.
I think what we're talking about, where you can see through it, but it looks like a mirror on the other side, that's a two-way mirror, I think.
Yes, that's the thing I mean to say. Whatever that's called.
No, okay, so Matt, go on. So this is Operation Midnight Climax. This was, oh my God, I just got that.
Yes.
Oh, I just got it.
There can't be.
I think that's
a
what that
better
police officer
name
saw.
for
The
it.
guy came into your school whenever he closed his eyes.
Yeah, that's right.
No, go on, Matt. What do you
That is
remember
so
about that?
good.
What do you remember about?
I remember. I think it was pretty crook, wasn't it? It was sort of like, yeah, it was. I think maybe a woman was paid by the CIA to lure men back to a hotel room, and then the CIA agent, and then she'd give them LSD, and then the agents would just watch what happened.
Yeah.
And they're calling this science, and it's for the good of the country.
There's all sorts of weird
Midnight climax.
There's all sorts of weird stuff like that in history where, like, even like when like the car companies were, when the government was trying to get past legislation that meant that cars had to have seatbelts, the car companies just like hired a bunch of prostitutes and got them to go and try and flirt with politicians to try and like create...
Ralph Nader was one of them.
Yeah.
He was leading the movement, and then they like Ford or no, maybe GM, one of the big car companies hired women to basically set up Ralph Nader, and it backfired, and he ended up getting it through anyway. But yeah, wild that they would go to those lengths.
Yeah.
To not make their cars safer. So strange.
So I mean, yeah, you're spot on there with what happened. They hired sex workers to lure unsuspecting men into government safe houses, which was sort of hotels essentially.
Not very safe.
No, not very safe for the people involved. They would have their two-way mirrors. Sometimes they'd be drinking cocktails on the other side. They would literally just have the men sitting in there and watch to see what happened. Apparently there was a party like atmosphere that sort of
But they had to be
came
very
up.
quiet, I assume.
I don't know.
A very quiet party.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like if someone's hallucinating on the other side of a mirror, you can get away with making a fair amount of noise. They're like, they're going to be hearing tons of stuff anyway, you know? They also ran experiments on prisoners. Whitey Bulger was apparently quite a famous mob guy from Boston. While he was in prison, they experimented on him. When he got out and realized what happened, he wrote a whole load about it, and then I guess promised to kill the man that that ran the experiments. The man died of natural causes, so he did not succeed, apparently. But yeah, and they did this to. I mean, they did this to so many people. They ran experiments in the army. There was a potential assassination of a man named Tom. No. Yes. No. Frank Olson.
Is that his name?
No.
Tom no yes no.
Tom no yes no. Tom no yes no. Frank Olson. Yeah. Apparently, he jumped from a building in New York, and apparently this was an assassination. But there's no proof of it because they destroyed all the evidence of everything.
Of course.
Yeah. They were giving it
when
to
you're the guy that makes the evidence, it's quite hard to have proof against you.
Exactly, right? And then it kind of came to an end. I mean, there were all those sort of experiments where they worked on prisoners, people in the army, as I said, random guys off the street. Basically anyone they could get their hands on. I mean, I think, I don't have the quote with me, but they literally, Sidney Gottlieb, he said, yeah, we went for the weak people that no one would care about. That's who they were going after. So they definitely knew they were the bad guys, I'm sure. And then they had to kind of bring it to an end when Richard Nixon did maybe one good thing, the one good thing he's ever done in his career. He came into power and got rid of the head of the CIA. And Gottlieb knew that once the head of the CIA was gone, he was next. So he just went sort of drove out to different facilities, destroyed as much of the evidence as he could, and then went and did all the stuff we mentioned up top, where he started a leper colony and cared for sick and dying people and bred
do you think
goats.
that was just trying to have an alibi so people arrest him? He's like, whoa, I'm a great guy. I look after people. I do have a lot of volunteering. If that's a crime, again, lock me up. But...
So the one question that remains after all of this is, can LSD be used for mind control?
No.
Well, you say that, but actually, the answer may be less clear than you think. So we are still studying LSD. We're still studying using it in therapy. And it does have some promising uses. So apparently LSD can be used to help people with schizophrenia, with PTSD, with addiction, so many different things if it's combined with therapy. And obviously you're not just giving them random doses of LSD. It's all very controlled. But there are some promising studies out there. Very difficult to do them, given that it's very illegal. But it can potentially be used to sort of make you more suggestible and have therapy be slightly more effective.
Are you calling therapy mind control?
I mean, to some extent it is, isn't it?
Usually you sign up for therapy, so it's sort of consensual. So I wouldn't necessarily go out and say it's mind control.
Is controlling your own mind not mind control?
Okay. I'm going to answer that.
So, there we have it. LSD can absolutely be used for mind control.
Sorry, no,
Yeah.
we do not have it. No,
Yeah.
no.
Matt, Dave, what do you think?
Oh,
Yeah. I mean,
it depends
Sure.
on how much you care about the meanings of words.
Yeah, you know what? And I care maybe a little bit too much.
You do care too much. Like, that is your fatal flaw. But that is it for MKUltra, and that's more or less it for us today. But there's one more thing we have to do. It's a quickfire quiz.
Dun, 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 dun. Mind control edition.
So the rules for the quickfire quiz are the same as always. I'll ask one question. That's one question between the three of you. The first person to buzz in with the correct answer wins. What do they win, Luke?
A big vat of LSD.
Gotta stop promising these
Made,
things.
Whoa.
made by Corey in his LSD lab that he has in his house.
Stop doing this.
sweet.
Stop telling everyone about your massive LSD lab.
Yes,
My
stop.
apologies.
Stop telling people. So, Luke, what is your buzzer?
Oh! Just closed my eyes and I saw some porn.
Matt, what is your buzzer?
I can make any sound, so I'm just going to make a realistic sound of a buzzer. Wow.
I have to say, Matt, that is an awfully long buzzer, but I'll give it to you.
That whole thing.
The whole
that's your
thing is the buzzer.
Yeah.
And Dave, what is your buzzer?
Bonk.
with the hand movements that you did there. I
Yeah,
have
that's
to-
right. You can see me. Bonk. Got a bit of jazz hands going on.
I love the hands in the face.
You know,
really
all about
sells it.
showbiz.
So the question for you three today is, other than LS,
Sorry, Corey, I've forgotten what my buzzer is. You remember?
You know what? I'm not totally sure what mine was either.
Hey, I'm very professional. I remember mine. Bonk, baby.
thanks, Dave. Thank you. You know what? This is why you're my favorite out of you three. Okay. Wait, do you guys actually not remember
Yeah,
your?
I kind of do. It's I just need to
I'll make a noise.
Just make a noise. That's
just
good.
suddenly imagine some porn. It'll come to me.
Jesus Christ.
That's right.
So the quickfire quiz question for the three of you today is, other than LSD, name a drug that the CIA used in the MKUltra experiments.
Oh! Sorry, that was much more sexual than I planned it to be. You know what? I'm going to take myself out of this just for that.
Yeah, look,
you
sorry,
guys
you're
can
disqualified.
answer.
You're disqualified.
All right. Bonk.
Dave, what is your answer?
I believe I heard heroin mentioned.
Ding, ding, ding. That is correct. And I'm so
Thank
glad
you.
we have that clip. Fantastic.
Wow,
Thank
you
very
win
much.
a vat of Corey's LSD. Congratulations.
It will be.
Thank you. I'm diving right in.
You can collect it whilst you're on tour over here. We'll bring it to the show.
Now you definitely want to get tickets to go and see.
Yeah, we're doing that at half time, and then the second half is very loose. Very loose.
Well, that is it for us. Where can everyone find you two?
Well, our podcast Do Go On. There's a website, dogoonpod.com, and that has information on that that podcast and also our other podcast. Dave does one called Book Cheat. I do one called Who Knew with Matt Stewart. It's a comedy quiz podcast. Why did I take this, Dave? You fucked up, eh?
Well, you've nailed your plug there. Book Cheat is my other spin-off from Do Go On, like Matt said, where I've read the book, so you don't have to. So I tell you all about a Charles Dickens, a Jane Austen, something that who can be bothered taking the time to read? Well, this guy can, and I'll tell you all about it. And those are the two shows, Who Knew It with Matt Stewart and Book Cheat, that you can see live in the UK in November. We're hitting up Glasgow, Leeds, Birmingham, Manchester, Bristol, and London. I think I've named them all there. And looking forward to London and the big vat of LSD. Going to be
Hand delivered by me.
It's going to be quite the show.
And that is it from us. But before we go, we would like to thank all of our patrons with a very special thank you to executive producers Donito and Glitchrabbit. And thank you for watching. You can find the full references for this episode down in the description. Subscribe for new episodes every Sunday. And why not leave us a nice wee comment? You can support the pod at patreon.com/SciGuys, guys, or you can find and contact us at SciGuysPod on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and at SciGuys on TikTok too. Or you can send us an email at sciguyspod@gmail.com.
That's sciguyspod@gmail.com. Sciguyspod
@gmail.com. You can follow me at NotCore everywhere.
You can follow me at Luke Cutforth everywhere.
So you can find me on Twitter at MattStew_art. I don't know why I picked that one. That one is the one I hate the most. But now I think Twitter's got new ownership, and I think it'll be back to the glory days.
Oh, dear God. Oh, God. Dave, where can they find you?
You can follow me at Dave Warnocky.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thanks so much for having us, Luke and Corey. I mean, I feel like I'm smarter for the experience. Cheers.
Hey, thanks so much, guys. See you later. Bonk bonk.